July the 20th, 1969, two men sit inside a tiny, fragile metal box. They are completely surrounded by the cold, dark vacuum of space. They are falling rapidly toward the gray alien surface of the moon. Suddenly, loud, blaring alarms begin screaming inside the tiny cabin. The navigation computer is completely overloaded. It is flashing a warning code that the astronauts barely recognize. Outside, the small triangular window, the designated landing zone, is a terrifying field of massive, dangerous boulders. If they land there, the fragile ship will be completely destroyed. They are nearly 240,000 miles away from Earth. Absolutely no one can rescue them. The mission commander takes manual control of the falling spaceship. His heart rate is pounding, but his hands are incredibly steady. He has only seconds of fuel remaining. He must find a safe spot immediately, or they will crash into the silent dust. The entire world watches the television broadcast and holds its breath. How did a quiet, humble boy from a small town end up risking his life on another world? The story begins in Ohio. He was born with a deep, consuming fascination for flying. When he was just 6 years old, his father took him on a ride in a noisy, shaking passenger plane. From that single moment, he knew he belonged in the sky. He built hundreds of model airplanes. He read every single aviation magazine he could find. He worked difficult, low-paying jobs at a local pharmacy and a cemetery just to pay for expensive flying lessons. His dedication was absolute. He earned his official pilot license before he was even legally allowed to drive a car. His mind was incredibly sharp and analytical. He went to a prestigious university to study aeronautical engineering. He wanted to understand the pure complex mathematics of flight. When the Korean War exploded, he left his studies. He became a highly trained naval aviator. He flew dozens of dangerous low-altitude combat missions over heavily defended enemy territory. During one intense mission, his jet struck an invisible enemy cable, strung across a valley. A massive portion of his right wing was completely ripped off. The plane was severely damaged and totally uncontrollable. He managed to fly the crippled jet back over friendly territory. He ejected safely and survived the terrifying ordeal. He learned how to remain perfectly calm under massive, overwhelming pressure. This incredible ability to control his fear would define his entire life. After the brutal war ended, he took on the most dangerous job on the entire planet. He became a civilian test pilot. He moved to a remote, dusty airbase in the California desert. He flew experimental, rocket-powered aircraft to the very edge of the Earth's atmosphere. He strapped himself into the famous X-15 rocket plane. It was basically a massive, terrifying bomb with small wings. He pushed these untested planes to the absolute breaking point, flying at thousands of miles per hour. Once, he actually bounced off the atmosphere and almost flew completely into space. Many of his close friends and fellow pilots died in horrible, fiery crashes. It was a brutal, unforgiving profession. But he never let fear control his actions. He analyzed every single mechanical problem with cold, calculated logic. This unique, unbreakable calmness caught the attention of the newly formed space agency. The United States was losing the massive space race against the Soviet Union. The government desperately needed the bravest, smartest pilots to fly the new experimental space capsules. He was quickly selected for the elite astronaut program. But his journey to the stars was not just about technical triumphs. He also carried a heavy, silent burden of deep personal tragedy. Years earlier, his beloved 2-year-old daughter was diagnosed with an incurable brain tumor. He watched helplessly as she slowly faded away. He was completely shattered. But he poured his massive, unspoken grief directly into his demanding work. He focused entirely on the impossible goal of reaching the moon. In 1966, he commanded his first mission into orbit. It was a highly complex and dangerous assignment. He had to physically dock 2 spacecraft together while flying at thousands of miles per hour. Initially, the historic docking was completely successful. But suddenly, the joined ships began to spin violently out of control. A thruster was completely stuck. The rotation became incredibly fast. The astronauts were thrown violently around the small cabin. They were on the verge of completely losing consciousness. If they blacked out, they would die spinning in the cold void. Once again, his cold, calculated logic saved them. He quickly shut down the main thrusters. He used the re-entry system to stabilize the dizzying spin. He managed to bring the damaged capsule safely back to Earth. He proved he was the perfect man for the ultimate mission. He was chosen to command the historic Apollo 11 mission. The pressure was totally unimaginable. During training, he flew a strange, unstable, lunar landing research vehicle. The flying machine suddenly malfunctioned and dropped like a heavy stone. He ejected just a fraction of a second before the machine smashed into the ground and exploded into a massive ball of fire. He calmly walked away from the burning wreckage. He went straight back to his office and simply continued doing his paperwork. His nerves were made of pure steel. This brings us directly back to that tiny falling metal box. The lunar module is dropping rapidly. The computer alarms are still flashing wildly. The massive, dangerous boulders are rushing closer and closer. He manually steers the fragile ship over the dangerous rocks, looking for a smooth, flat area. The fuel gauge is dropping dangerously low. Mission Control warns him he has only 60 seconds of fuel remaining. Then, 30 seconds, the descent engine kicks up a massive blinding cloud of gray lunar dust. He cannot see the surface clearly. He relies purely on his intensive training and his sharp instincts. Finally, a long metal probe touches the alien ground. The powerful engine shuts off. A deep, heavy silence fills the cabin. He presses the radio button and speaks a few calm historic words. Houston Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. The tense control room in Houston erupts in massive, joyous cheers. The entire world celebrates. Hours later, he opens the hatch. He slowly climbs down the metal ladder. He steps onto the soft, powdery surface of another world. He says, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." He plants the American flag. He leaves his heavy footprints in the ancient dust. He returns to Earth as the most famous human being in history. But he completely rejects the massive fame. He does not want to be a celebrity or a politician. He remains a humble, quiet engineer. He retires to teach in a quiet university. He avoids the bright cameras. But his incredible legacy is permanently written in the stars above. Yet the massive space race absolutely did not end on that quiet lunar sea. The relentless desire to conquer the dark void brought entirely new, unprecedented dangers. Just a few short years later, another brave crew would launch toward the moon, only to face a massive, terrifying explosion halfway across the dark, freezing vacuum of space. How did 3 men survive a crippled, dying spaceship, completely lost in deep space? We will uncover that chilling story of survival next. If you love stories like this, please like, comment, and share this video. Subscribe to our channel to unlock more amazing stories and explore the untold secrets of legendary American icons.